Okay, so we're at the table, and while we have this visual, these lovely blocks, I want to just go over a couple things. The arm piece for the sleeve, the large granny, we're going to need two of those, and we're going to want to make sure that we're not chaining one in between our clusters. The only time we're chaining one for any of our squares is going to be in the corners, because that's going to yield a different size square, and we don't want that. Um, as well as this one has 15 rounds on it, but we want to make sure we put as many rounds on our large grannies that'll be able to go around our arm to make up our sleeve. The length, we'll worry about that later on by adding to the top and to the bottom. As well as these, we want to make sure we are not putting any chain one spaces in between our squares. Okay, this is going to be how we're going to organize our squares so we can get ready to assemble our sweater. Just remember, when working with the hood pieces, we're going to make that one with 4.5 millimeter hook. That way we keep our hood size small. We don't want it abnormally large. Okay, so these right here are what I'm referring to when I say panels. So here I took 5 of the granny squares and joined them together, and I refer to these as panels. So you're going to need 5 panels with 5 granny squares on it. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so 5 panels with 5 granny squares on it. Okay, and of course I'm going to show you how to place these, but we want to have this, and then we want to have 5 panels with 4 in it. So it's 1, 2, 3, and 4 granny squares in each panel. 5 panels with 4 in it. Okay, now that we've gone over that, we're going to start our hood. So we're going to have to take 3 of the panels that have 4 in it, and we're going to put them together. We've already learned how to make our panels, so now we're just going to go ahead and join these panels together, and we'll have our hood. And this is our hood all joined together. So now we're going to put this aside, and we'll come back to this after we finish building the body of our piece, and we'll attach the hood. Now we have the pockets. This is the 2 pockets. I again have put them together for no reason, but we're going to fold these over, and we're going to go up this side and up this side. Now if you already have not done what I have done, then you're going to fold it over or put 2 together and then join them from one corner going all the way down. Go twice into this corner, go over, go twice into this corner, and come up. And we're going to close that off with our single crochets just like we've been doing, and then we'll just have one side open, and we'll have our pockets. Okay, so we have done our pockets, and you see we've gone around just 3 of the sides. Make sure when you're doing the corner ends of your piece, which is here, join in there, you go in twice so you can go around easy. And that's our 2 pockets. Okay, so this is the back. So what we're going to do for our back is we're going to take 3 of the panels that have 5 granny squares in it, and we're going to place them together. And this is actually turned to the side. These will be going up and down, but it turned to the side so you can see it. But we're just going to join these together just like we joined the hood, and we'll have our back. Okay, so this is the back piece put together. Now we're going to take our 2 other 1, 2, 3, 4 panels that have 4 in it, and we're going to place 1 on this side, and we're going to take and place 1 on the other side. like that, and we're going to join these here. Okay, so there'll be an open one here, and we're going to join 1, 2, 3, and 4 right here. Okay, and on this side as well, we're going to be joining here. Okay, and the top one will be left open. So we're going to go ahead and completely attach those. Okay, so now we have our sides put on. Now we're going to put on our last piece, which is going to be our front piece. So we're going to bring in our granny squares with 5 in the panel, and that should be the last of the 2 of those. And we're going to place these down. So when we're placing these down, we're only going to be connecting in 3 of the spaces, over 3 granny squares, because we have to leave space for our pocket. So our pocket's going to get tucked in just like this, and we're only going to be closing up the bottom right below the pocket, and then we're going to go up at the top, and we're going to close in those 2 spaces above our pocket. Okay, and whatever we do here, we're going to do on the opposite side as well. So we're going to be looking at that, and we're going to place this down in the exact same way, leaving our spaces at the where the pocket is open, and we'll do just the bottom and the 2 pieces at the top. So we're going to go ahead and get that sewed down, and we'll come back later on and we'll put in our pocket. Okay, so we have all of this sewn down now. So now we have to look at it wide open. You see we have our front, our side, our back all laid out. So now what we have to do is we have to close our back and to our front panels. So we're going to be connecting these right here, that front panel to that first back panel on that side, and the front panel to this back panel on this side, leaving one back panel open. So we're just going to be going and just putting a line of join on each side. Okay, so now you see we have already closed these out. Now we can turn this back onto the right side, because we have now made our little shoulder portion here. You see, that's all closed off, nicely joined, and basically our body is all put together. We're ready for our arms. But before we do our arms, I think we'll go ahead and add in our pockets. And when we do that, we want to be working on the right side of our piece. So we're going to grab a pocket and make sure the pocket is on the right side. And we're just going to put it right in here, just like that. And it should perfectly fit into that space. The only thing you need to know about joining the pocket that's different from all the other pieces is when we're doing the pocket, into the corners that are on the pocket. This is the join area. That's a corner and that's a corner, right? We will be catching these corners here, okay? So this one and this one, I'm going to show you now, will both go into this corner. So I'm going to add that here. Oh, mommy. Okay, go back in and make a single crochet. And now this box that's directly below it, we will be adding that corner into the same space we just came out of. So now both these two are connected with just this side. And on the opposite side, we have this block and this block, these two corners. These two corners will go into this corner on this side. Okay? And this corner will go right back to where we just came in that corner. And other than that, we're going all the way around. We're going to do the same thing here. When we get here, we'll be going in this corner and this corner, and that will all go into this corner on this side. When we come on this side to this corner and this corner will all go into that one corner. Okay, so that's the only difference. Other than that, we're going around, go into both corners with this one corner, and go over here to this corner and do these two corners, come on back and slip stitch into the first single crochet that we've done. Okay, so now we're going to focus on the hood. So this is the hood, and we're going to be placing it on with the 4 squares at the bottom. Okay, now we're going to be working over this block, this back block, and this block. Okay, and this is where we're going to be putting the hood over these 3 blocks. All right, so what I want to do, this needs to be on the wrong side, and we're going to be working on the wrong side here. So I'm going to open this up, and whatever side you want at the bottom, and I think I want this one at the bottom, is the way we're going to turn this. All right, now you keep pins. So remember, we're working over this block, this back block, and this front side block. And that is where we're going to fit these. Goodness. Okay, people, I have now gotten my pens. Oh, I'm getting attacked by my pens. I'm gonna pin this. Oh, I could have handed it to you as 14, 7, la la bamba, la la bamba, la la bamba, la la. Hello. That's why it's important to get good footage. I hope I don't cry. No, not at all. All right, so I want to bring it in a little bit more on the armhole. This is where we will be putting our sleeve on, right here. But we're going to have to bring this in just a little bit. We're only going to be bringing it in 3 places. And that would be right here, where the two granny squares meet here, right here where the two granny squares meet, and again in this corner. And actually I'm saying 2, but it's pretty much 1, 2, and 3, where these 3 granny squares meet, 1, 2, and 3. So those are the places where we're going to be bringing it in, no matter what size, what type of granny sweater I'm doing. These are always going to be my key points where I bring it in. And then after I do a row where I bring it in a little bit, then we'll do another row just to establish everything nice and neat before we attach the arm. And this is the case for all the sweaters that I've made. We're going to go in between each one of our clusters, and when we get to the key points where we're drawing it in at our join areas, corners or such, I'm going to break that down to you just so you can see exactly where we're going. So I'm going to start by adding on my main color, and that's going to be the navy blue, and I'm just going to insert it in between one of the clusters. It doesn't matter which one, but we want to start, when working with my arm, I always like to start right below the underarm, so anywhere on this block would be fine. 1, 2, 3, and now I'm going to go ahead and make my clusters of 3 double crochets in between the spaces, just like we would working our granny squares. And now I'm immediately at my first corner, or like I said, where my 1, 2, and 3 blocks come together. And this is where I want to make my first decrease. Now if you see the block right here, this corner, we're going to go into this corner. This block right here, the third one next to that, we're going to go in here, and this one we're going to go down here. Call this one the third one because it's not in the lineup. It's 1, 2, and this one just jumps in, so I always call it the third one. So we're going to go here in this one, and then in this one, and we're going in each one of their corners. So we're just going to put 1 double crochet in this corner, then this block, I'm going to put 1 double crochet in that corner, and then this one right here, we want to put a double crochet into that corner. So this is going to represent our cluster of 3. So when we come back around, we'll be going in between here, right? Because that's where we have a cluster. We'll be going right here, skip these 3, and we'll be going on the opposite side, okay? Because these are going to stand together as if they were a cluster of 3. And we're going to turn this. So we are on our next square, and we're going to keep going around, putting our clusters of 3. Until we get to our next join. Turn it around some more. Now we're at the top right here. And we have this corner here from this block, and we have this corner from this block. So we're going to put 1 double crochet here and 1 double crochet here. Now our third one is going to go right between both of them, and it's going to go inside of this join area. All right, so it's going to be 1, 2, the join area, and 3. So let's go to the first corner. Now for the join area one, you see our join area, if you look at it like this, you can go in between there or in between. I like to go underneath that last join, just like that. Grab my yarn, come back up and make a double crochet, and then we're going to go into this corner. Right. And again, just like I stated on the other side, when we come back around, we'll be going in between here. We will skip over these 3, and we will be going into the space we're about to create by moving along, making our clusters. So we'll be going here. Spin this around some more, and we'll get to our next corner. Okay, And now we are at our next corners, and we'll do the same thing. We have the block that we're working on. We're going to go into that corner. We're going to go into the corner on the next block. We'll be working across, but then there's this third one drops in right here that we won't be working into, but we will work into this corner. So one double crochet in this corner, double crochet in that corner, and we're going to double crochet in this corner. And then we move on, and we have one more space before we come to, well, depending on where you started. If you have more, then you'll go till you get to where you first started, and I've reached mine. So we're going to go through the top of that chain 3 we began with and slip stitch there. Now we're going to go for row 2, and this is what I like to call the clean row. We've made all these little spaces where we've done this 1, 2, and 3. So we want to now just put clusters in every one of our spaces like we would if we were working just regular granny row, doing our clusters of 3s, but we want to more so define where we put this and mark that off. Okay, so we're going to begin our row with a chain of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now when I begin with 4 like this, it's because I'm about to double back to go inside my first space right here, and one of those chains is probably going to get blocked, so I start with a chain of 4. If you don't like that, then you can start with 3 and still go in here, but like I said, I like to do 4 because one of them might get blocked off, and you'll see. So I'm going to yarn over and go into this space, and that chain of 4 is going to count as a double crochet. I've just made my second double crochet, and I'm going to go back inside and make my third. Now even though I chain 4, you see that meets the perfect height because we're going back and we're kind of sitting over a little bit of that, so that chain of 1 makes up for that. That makes sense. Now we're going to just keep going all the way around and placing our cluster of 3 double crochet in all our designated spots. And we should have 15 clusters of 3 at the end of this row. Okay, so that's what we did, our first 1, 2, 3 double crochets. So we worked here. We're going to skip over right here and work here and put our cluster of 3. And keep going all the way around. All right, now this is the one at the top. 1, 2, 3. So we're going to jump right on the other side of that and place our 3 double crochets. We're going to keep going. And almost to our last one. Turn it around just a little bit. Now this is our last 1, 2, 3. Going to jump right over that. And I am at my last one. So a lot of flipping around when you're doing the arms. So I'm just going to slip stitch into the top of my first chain 3. I'm going to cut my yarn. And then I am going to pull this through. So let me lay this down so we can look at it. So if you were to count each one of these clusters, you will see that you have 15 clusters all the way around. So when it comes time to put the arm on here, we're going to place it and it should be able to fit on perfectly, joining with the single crochet all the way around, just as we've been joining everything else. This makes that perfect and simple, so you're able to fit it on with your arm if you do your arm in the same fashion as me. If you have changed your arm or your arm is going to be smaller and you'll know what by the time you finish your arm, then you can always customize these 2 rows to make sure it's going to have the same amount of clusters all the way around as your arm does. And that is how I get a good arm fit, making sure this and the sleeve are perfect at the joining area. They both have the same amount of clusters, so I'm going around it the same amount of times. I have the same amount of spaces, and this is why we do the clean row, because I don't want to join on a row where I am, you know, bringing it in. I want to have that clean foundation all the way around. And that's like one of the biggest questions I get. I don't know how to join the arm, or how did you join the arm? And that is it. Following along like this, and just making sure this is the same exact size as your sleeve. Now we're going to get to making the whole sleeve and go over that, and then we'll come back and add that on here. And remember, whatever we do here, we must do on the opposite side. Make sure everything is even. Okay, yo, so I told you in the beginning that you're going to need a large granny square for your sleeve. This one is 15 rows, and I did 15 different colors. And for my, I think I have gray twice, but basically 15 different colors, 15 rows, and this wraps around my arm perfectly, so and gives me enough space, so I like this one. So if you're using a smaller hook or whatever hook size you're using, you're just going to test this out around your arm and see if it works for you. If it works for you, then great, that is your size. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to fold this, okay? Because it does not have to be the length of your arm. You don't want that. You just want to have the width when folded, okay? So this is the front of my work. I want to fold it, and so I have the wrong side on the outside, okay? That's why I left on my little string, so we can clearly tell that we have the outside of all of our pieces. Now, what we're going to be doing is closing this off in the same way we closed off everything else. And you want to use whatever that last color is to close off this granny square. Mine was peach, so I'm going to bring in my peach and we're going to close off the arm. So I will see you after I have finished. Okay, so I have finished joining that together. So once we're finished, we're going to flip it on the correct side. Everything else we do to this will be on the right side. That we have. And remember, however we make this one, we want to make our other one, because we need to make two identical to this. Okay, so yeah, I'm bringing in the other arm, and I want to show you, this is the other one, and again, it is going to be identical to this one. And we will be adding more at the top and more at the bottom. The bottom portion, before we get to the wrist, we'll be adding as many colors as we feel like we want to get to the length we want. But at the top, we're going to be adding 2 rows, because this will be where we join this to the sweater. And I'll show you how to do that now. Now, we're going to do the same thing we just did on our sleeve to decrease this, or else we will be making a cluster of 3 here and a cluster of 3 here. We do not want to do that. We want to consider all of this a cluster of 3. So I'm going to start in this corner and add on my yarn. I'm going to chain up 3, 1, 2, and 3. Now that's going to stand as a double crochet, and that's going to be the first double crochet in my cluster. The next one, I'm going to go right in this join area, just like I showed you on our sweater piece, and I am going below it. Okay, if below it is too tight, like going under it from below is too tight, you can always look at it this way and go in between. Okay, I am choosing to go below. Grab my yarn, come up, make my double crochet, yarn over and into the next corner. I'm going to make my double crochet, and that is my first cluster of 3. Now, going all the way around, I'm just going to be going in between my clusters of 3 and putting clusters of 3. And by the time I come all the way back around to where I began, I should have 15. So I'm going to go all the way around so I get back. Okay, so I've gone all the way around and I've come back to where I began. So I'm going to slip stitch into the top of that chain 3. And chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, I'm chaining 4 to begin because I'm going to double back and go here, and probably going to cover one of those chains. So I'm going to yarn over, and again I'm going to go back here and make a double crochet, and then I'm going to make another double crochet. So I have my first cluster. Now I'm going to go all the way around till I come back here, making my clusters, and between my clusters, and I should have a total of 15 clusters. And I already know that'll be the exact same amount of as many clusters as I have going around my sweater. So I know when it's time to join these, I'm going to have a perfect join because I'll have the same amount of stitches here as I do on my piece. Okay, so I went ahead and put, after doing the 2 rows in the navy blue, I have put on 9 more rows. So we ended here once the fold, and I put on all of this and the granny clusters. But I did, after the purple row, I put on a row of double crochet and then a row of single crochet, and that's how I'm going to end it. It is best if you put on, however many rows you want to after the fold. Attach it to your sweater. Remember, we're attaching here when the navy blue is. And then figure out how much more you're going to need on the end. I already know that this is all I'm going to need on the end, so I went ahead and did it before I attached. So just make sure you know how much you need exactly before you go all the way to the end, ending it off. And I think the row of double crochet and followed by the single crochet just adds a simple touch to it. If not, you can always do any border that you like, or even end it with the clusters. That looks nice as well. All right, so I'm going to, we're going to attach this arm to our piece, and then if you haven't done it, then you'll figure out if you need to add more onto your end. Now we're going to get ready to join our arm and to our sweater. Now, this is the right side of our sweater, okay? This is the right side of our sleeve. Now, I'm going to turn this on the wrong side, just the sweater. Right. So now this is the wrong side of the sweater, as you can see. And this is the sleeve tucked in here, okay? But the sleeve is on its right side. We're just working on this side. When we turn it, you won't be able to tell the stitching. The stitching will be on the inside of the work. Now, one thing I always want to make sure I do, okay, is I want to make sure I know exactly where my join area is. Of course, I know it's right here, right? Now, one thing I love to do, make sure my piece is even. This is the block right up under our arm. So I want to make sure that block, the middle centerpiece of that block, is aligned with my join. Okay, I do, because it's going to make it look nice. So I say the middle of my this block would be right here, and the middle of that would be here. That makes sense. That way it's going to stay even, because I already know I have an even amount going around. There's 15 clusters on here, 15 on here. So that means I have the same amount of stitches all the way around. So if I start here, I lost it, here, and I go one stitch all the way around, I'm not even bothering to pin it, because I'm going to go around and it's going to be even. Right? Now, if you need to pin it, or if you think your number is slightly off, then you're going to have to account for that, kind of like we did with the hood, where we took and made, had to place more of our stitches in one area than in the other, because we were working with 4 blocks on the hood, but over 3 squares on the sweater. So we had to place more stitches in the front to the back, or double in more stitches from the front to the back. So if you have to do that here, you want to make sure it's evenly placed or spaced out. Okay, but I like to make sure it's flush. Now we're just going to go around like we've been joining, single crochets all the way around. So because I have to flip and flop this a whole bunch, I'm going to go ahead and go around this whole circle with my single crochets, and we'll come in and look at how the arm joins on, how it joined on after. Okay, so when we get back to the beginning and we've gone all the way around, we want to slip stitch into that first stitch, that first single crochet, slip stitch right into there. We're cutting our yarn. I'm going to pull that through. Okay. Now let's flip this thing over and see how nice our arm came out. That is our arm. I want to give you a better view of it. That is how we joined it. It's our arm. So our arm is attached. Rather like our arm. Now that we have one arm attached, we have to do the same thing to the other one. Now I'm not going to go over that one. We could do that one on our own. And the only things we have left to do on our sweater is the bottom border and the border along the inside up and around our hood. Now, if we haven't done more to our arm, try it on and we'll see how much more we need done or want done to our arm. But the border, now your decision with the border is, do you want to make it colorful like you did the sleeve or not. So for this one, I was on the fence, but I'm deciding not. I want to save that color way, like our sleeve, to go around the inside only. So we're just going to do this with one color. Now, how I do the bottom border is going to be exactly how I'm going to do the border in the inside. We're still going to be working with the clusters of 3. It just might be a different placement of how we're placing them all, and I'll show you how we're going to establish that first row and different points around the top, well, around the inside. But on the bottom border, whatever we do here is pretty much what we're going to do around there, but we have different places we probably need to pay attention to when we're going around. So I'll go over first rows with you. Okay, so I'm going to start doing my border with the bottom border. So this is the very bottom of my piece, and we're going to start with one of the corners, with it facing us on the right side, and we're going to go all the way down. Now we're going to be continuing the same cluster of 3 from our granny squares through most of the border. The last row we'll probably do just like we did the arm, just with a row of double crochets and a row of single crochets, just to give it a simple end. But we'll be starting right in the corner. Now this is pretty much going to be just like we would normally do our clusters of 3s. We'll be going in each corner with a cluster of 3. Okay, so nothing but clusters of 3s except for on the ends. So I'm just going to show you on the ends and the color scheme that we're going to go from the arm. We're going to take it from the arm, and we're going to do the gray, one of these blues, this green, and the cream. So, and then we'll do the rest with the navy blue. So I'm gonna pull one of those colors, and let's start with the cream. In the corner. So I'm gonna add my yarn on, and I'm gonna chain up 1, 2, and 3. Now into this first corner, we're just going to leave this as a double crochet. So our first corner and our last corner will just be double crochets. And now I'm just going to move along and make my cluster of 3s. Till I get to the opposite end. And the last one for this square will be the corner. Make our cluster of 3, double crochets, and then we're going to go to this corner. So I'm going to do that all the way down to I get to the end and show you what we do there, and we'll do the next row together. Okay, I'm on my last block, bottom border. And when I get to my last corner, the last stitch in that row, we're just going to make a double crochet. And cut our yarn and pull through. Now we will have to turn our work. So let's turn our work. And my next color, I will be doing a little green. So now to start my next color, I'm going to go into the top of that double crochet and add my yarn and chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. This stands as our double. Our next double crochet, we're going to go in between, and then we'll go and then we'll go right back in there to make another one. Now we have a cluster on the end. All right, so every other row will alternate like this. When we're doing our borders, we'll do one double crochet on the end, and then we come back, we'll do 2 inside the middle and 1 here. Okay, so depending on which way we're going, if we're going out, when we get to the last one, we'll be doing 2 inside the space before the double, and then we'll do the last one into the double. Okay, and that's how I'll go, but I'll show you the last one, and then I'll show you how we begin again on the next row, and it'll just alternate. I will go all the way down, put my clusters in, and I will see you on the last block. Okay, so I'm on my last block and almost to the end. So for the last one, remember, we'll be going in there and putting 2 of our double crochets from our cluster in there. And then we'll be putting the last one into the double crochet from right here. And then we're going to cut the yarn, pull through, and turn our work. And now I'm going to grab my next color. And now this one will be start with the double crochet. So I'm going to go inside here, add my yarn on, and then chain up 1, 2, and 3. It stands as my double crochet, and I'll keep going along. So I'm going to make all my clusters all the way down, and the last one will be a double crochet, and I've already showed you what you're going to do coming back um, on the next row, putting that 2 double crochets here and the last one into your double crochet. Okay, and we'll alternate like that back and forth for the bottom border as well as when we're doing the sides, but I'll start the sides with you. I'm going to put this color, the blue and the gray on, and then I'm going to throw on a couple rows of the navy. It depends on what you want for the bottom. You can go as many rows on the bottom with this as you want. And I'm going to go ahead and finish this out, and I'll come back in and we'll start the side borders. Remember, my last row here will be a row of double crochets all the way across, and then a row of single crochet. Okay, so I have finished my border, and this is my bottom border. So you see we added these 4 colors. We added 2 rows of the navy blue, 1 row of double crochets, and then I wound up doing 2 rows of single crochets. I like the single 2 rows better with the single crochets. So this is my bottom border. Now the same way we did our bottom border, we're going to be working our border up here all the way around the hood and back down to the other side. Okay, so going up the sides from the bottom all the way up around the hood, we're going to be doing the same thing we did on this border. We're going in all the places where we will naturally put our clusters of 3. And from this corner, I'm sorry, here's the corner. From this corner right to this corner, all the way up. So we're going to work in every possible place all the way up for our border, just like we did at the bottom. The only part is right here where we're working on the sides of the stitches for our from our bottom border, and that is what I'll go over with you. In the same way that we had a double crochet at the end, we'll be doing that here too to start. So I'm going to start this one just by chaining 1, 2, and 3. Okay, that will be our double, and then we're going to move on and find the best possible place to start our clusters in this area. Now, in my opinion, a cluster of 3 would go here, 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 okay, and we'll put one here, all right, somewhere in between here. So this is going to be up to you to decide where you want to place yours, but we want to have them kind of evenly spaced. Hmm. Now I'm going to go ahead and put one here. Hmm. And I'm going to put one here. Hmm. And we're going to put one here. And we're going to put one here. Okay. And the same places we put them here, we want to make sure when we're coming down on the other side, we're doing the same exact thing, put them in the same places, and of course we'll end with putting one double crochet in the last stitch on the other side. And now once we finish with the bottom border, we're going to go right into this corner, and we're going to go up and all the way around. And we'll be doing the same exact thing for our front as we did here. So on when we come back to our second row, we'll always be turning our work, and when we come back to our second row, we'll go in here and put 2 double crochet here, and then the third will go here, and it'll be just like the bottom. Now as far as around here, we want to go as many times around as we want. I am looking at, bring my arm in a little bit. I am looking at my color palette here. Now for the bottom, I did 4 colors. I did this, one of the blues, the green, and the cream. So now I'm starting with this color, and I'm probably going to work this color out until I get to the peach. Okay. If I decide to go more, I'll see, because I probably want to put some of the blue around there. Or if I decide to go less, we'll see at the end. But I just want you to go around as many times with as many colors. And this is why I like to make sure my hood isn't too big, so it doesn't, when I'm going around with all these colors, it doesn't make the hood out of, it doesn't add too much to the hood where it looks out of place. There are no other places of concern when going all the way around. Let's look at it. This is all the way up. Now when we get to where the hood, this is the hood, right? Where the hood and the sweater meet. Remember, we're going into every corner. So we're going into the corners up here. 1, 2, and there is the third corner right here. You'll have a spot where there are like 3 corners. We're going to cluster, cluster, cluster. And that's it. Everything else, again, is just as we have been doing it. So I'm going to go around with all my colors, and I'll come back in and tell you exactly how many colors I'll put on there, and we'll look at it, and I'll show you how to weave in a little bit on this.